Hi everyone, we are Team Agone. I'm Riley, I'm our release manager. Jonathan is our team lead, Kayla is our recorder, and Sam is our architect, along with our mentor Vova. And our client is Power Labs, and their goal is to enable athletes to train and stay healthy through wearable devices such as Apple Watches, Fitbits, things like that. They take the data off of those devices and basically analyze it and use it to prevent injury. Our client's name is Adam, but we've mostly been contacting through Travis, who is their client coordinator.
And so this is our client's current system. And so the first thing is that our client is creating this environment, and this environment is done through Google Sheets and a Google Drive that's shared with the athletes and the coaches. And then after our client creates this environment, they start to create dashboards, and these dashboards are, again, Google Sheets that are shared with everyone. And then once that's done, then emails are sent to the athletes for them to populate these spreadsheets. And so in this email there's a Google form with all the preliminary information that the coach wants to know of these athletes in order to create the personalized workout for them. And so once the athlete enters all this data, it goes into the Google Sheets, and now the coach can start assigning workouts to each specific athlete. And then once the coach does that, an email is sent to the athlete with their workout plan for the week or 2 weeks, depending on how the coach does it. And so once the athlete finishes their workout, they're then going to enter in the data through the client's API or manually, depending on whether or not they have a sports watch. And this is, again, done through a Google form that our client created. And then after that data is entered in and it populates into the spreadsheet so that coach can see, the coach analyzes that data and then again assigns that another workout plan, and that process is iterated over as that coach is working with the athlete. And so currently we see 4 problems with the system. And the first problem is that it takes too long for this all to initialize for the coach to get started working with these athletes. And the second problem is that there's a lot of investment of time from our clients to the point where they can't really network out to work with more coaches and personal trainers. And the third problem is there's no messaging between the coach and the athlete to see if they're on the same page on whether these workouts are working for them or not. And the fourth and last one is with the more athletes that are on the coach's network, the harder it becomes to analyze all of this data. And so our solution is to create a web app for all this information to be put in one area for for the athletes, the coaches, and whatever staff the coach wants to add on to their process. So the first step in our system is the coach is the one going to be creating the environment and the dashboards so they can start automatically working on their own system, and it can be personalized by the coaches how they want it to look. And so once this is done, then emails are sent to the athletes with invitation links to sign up for this website so they can create their profiles. And when the athlete is creating their profile, all this preliminary information is being entered in and self-populating into the web app. And so then once all that's done, all the athletes are in the coach's system, the coach can now start assigning workouts. And so once the coach assigns a workout, the athlete is notified through email of their workout plan for that time period. And then again, once the athlete does their workout, they enter their data through the web application. And this is done manually or automatically, again, depending on whether or not they have a sports watch. And so once all this information is entered, now the coach can analyze it and then assign a workout and again, do this all over again. And as the coach analyzes it, they can single out specific athletes they want to analyze. So they don't not just looking at a list of people and their information to better create workout plans for them. And now there is going to be messaging between the coach and the athlete. So now they can say to each other that they are on the same page, that this workout plan is working for them, and that this system is going to help them be better for their athletic career.
And there's a few key requirements driving our implementation process. And the most important is that we want this wellness platform to be personable to each coach. There should be different dashboards depending on, if it's a coach, if it's just an athletic trainer, there's different there's like a hierarchy that we will create with our user authentication, but it all needs to be customizable. And we'll do so using AWS hosting services. And we also have a custom database that we're streaming the data through. And we have to use the client's already existing API that they have in place that is already collecting this biometric data from these wearable devices. And we're doing so through some back-end and front-end technologies. On the back-end, we're using AWS, PostgreSQL, and then Django to handle all of the user authentication and the hierarchy of the different users. And on the front end, we're using React as our base, along with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And we hope to be able to have time to create visualization of the data with Apex charts. But our client said that this was not their highest priority, so that's our stretch goal.
For some more information on the details of our front end and back end, with the back end for hosting and storage, as mentioned, we're going to be using AWS and PostgreSQL. AWS will be used mainly for just hosting our website, and PostgreSQL also integrates with AWS and will be used to store data that is fetched from the client API. Django, which is both a front end and back end type architecture, will allow for us to allow for authentication on the user interface side, and then to confirm authentication in the back end. Django operates off a MVC architecture, and basically that's a model view controller. So that means that when actions are performed on the HTTP pages, those requests will go to a controller, and then that will interact with the backend to determine what's displayed and how data is changed or saved. Django is also going to be used to implement some key communication features. We mentioned that email notifications are going to be sent when coaches upload not exercise templates, but when coaches upload exercises for athletes. And there's also going to be a live chat communication feature, which will also be used with Django and WebSockets. And lastly, React is the user interface side of our entire system, and basically will allow us to display the website, handle routes, which will allow us to just navigate to different pages. And it will also display data that's pulled from the client API with the help of the backend and PostgreSQL. And lastly, it will help to implement a customizable user interface by allowing for us to make different JavaScript functions that allow us to edit how data is displayed and sorted.
In terms of challenges, a main challenge we faced was inexperience with the technologies we decided to choose, such as like React and AWS. This led to us spending a lot of time reading through documentation, which was our kind of resolution to it, was we spent a lot of task time reading through documentation, watching tutorial videos and such. Another technology challenge that we had to deal with was we decided to use Vue, which was having a lot of issues with AWS. So we ended up having to switch to React, which was a lot more compatible and basically reduced all those issues we were having to zero. The last challenge I'm going to bring up is API integration. Especially with working with sensitive data, we had to implement this data into the back end to protect it. This led to a lot of issues with us trying to figure out how AWS was supposed to work with the API. We remedied this by meeting with Power Labs API developer. He was able to talk us through how to implement it correctly and where to implement it to best secure the data. And this is our schedule. As you can see, in week 1 through 4, we spent a lot of time developing the skeleton of the website. This involved implementing different buttons into our prototype and getting functionalities that we didn't have working in that stage. The next stage was connecting the APIs and creating the backend. The backend consisted of a database, an API to pull the data to the front end, and then a Power Labs API that would pull this data into the database. At the same time, we started creating front end functions, including templates that allowed for welcome messages and requests for workout data. Eventually, this stage will lead to, this stage is eventually going to lead to us creating a chat system that allows the coaches and athletes to communicate with each other. After the prototype phase coming up in week 9, we will be implementing accounts. These accounts will differentiate between staff and athletes and coaches who all have different views of the data and will have different abilities to interact with that data. Last will be a product refinement phase where we spend a lot of the time refining all of our functionalities that we've implemented. And finally, we'll end up in the capstone conference where we'll present our ideas and our system. Overall, Power Lab's goal is Power Lab has tasked us with creating this tool that will reduce coaches' workloads and help them communicate with students in a more efficient way. We plan to do this by providing a flexible platform for evaluating athletes' wellness, keeping track of athlete injuries, and improving workouts through biometric data display in an easy-to-read GUI interface. In the coming weeks, what's next for us is that we will be expanding the scope of our project, not just to coaches, but their staff and athletes as well.
And for more information on our project, you can visit our website. The link is listed here. Thank you very much.